right, that was another rewind performance from the Pembroke Hall Blueprint Steel Band. Behold, he comes. Now we are going to be talking about the way the U.S. government, through its Disease Control and Prevention Caribbean Regional Office, has committed over 140 million Jamaican dollars in support of our government's COVID-19 response efforts. Joining us by video to talk about this development and more is Ambassador Donald Tapia of the U.S. Embassy. Good morning, Ambassador. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, good morning. I'm very happy to be here, especially at this time in the morning.
COVID-19, Ambassador, it's affecting the world, and the U.S. Is insisting that we are going to help, and this time we're offering assistance to Caribbean nations. Talk to me a little bit about just how much you've been assisting countries with their COVID-19 response.
Well, for here in Jamaica, I know that the USAID is they were the first out of the box to donate basically $700,000 to start off the donations, and it's case management. It actually has to do with case management, and strengthening clinical care and so forth, which was needed right from the start. So with that said, then they moved on to the CDC. Actually gave $140 million Jamaican dollars from the CDC, and that was for laboratory diagnosis, particular testing, surveillance, infection prevention, and so forth. And then right after that, the IAEA donated $90,000 Jamaican for global infrastructure to basically bringing in some diagnostic equipment and so forth. And it has just some of it has arrived as of this last week, and the rest of it will be arriving here this week.
Yes, that's amazing. Testing is critical, as we've heard, and surveillance in this pandemic. One of the things you're saying is that it's a commitment to advancing Jamaica's public health capacity, our capacity to not just respond to COVID-19, but to recover from COVID-19 as well. Isn't this so?
Yes, whenever I self-quarantined myself because I came back into the island on the 29th. I was supposed to come back actually on the 23rd, and the flight was canceled. So I stayed at home and went through all my medical evaluations and so forth, and then I came in on the 29th and went into self-quarantine. I went in for 14 days, and of course there was a Jamaican holiday, and it ended up as 18 days. So I do know the pain of being self-quarantined.
Yes. One of the discussions now, Ambassador, happening across the world, it's in the U.S., it's here in Jamaica, is do we open? Do we not open? We have to open. How do we open? What are some of the concerns from your end in terms of reopening the economy and ensuring that countries are still able to not only survive health-wise, but to survive economically from COVID-19?
Well, Corona-19 has actually brought the U.S. and Jamaica and basically the world to its knees. And what we're finding out is that we don't want to open too soon, but at the same time we need to take a look at when the curve flattens and so forth. Taking a look at from the area of what it will give us the fastest return on the Jamaican dollar or on the economy in the U.S. and also in Jamaica. Of course, Jamaica is predicated on tourism. 70% of your gross national product is based on tourism. So that's something that we've got to take a strong look at, because tourism is not going to you just don't turn the switch on as you would a factory and so forth and put people on the production line. So that's something that we are planning on. And in fact, I met with Minister Bartlett earlier this week to discuss tourism and the airlines and so forth. We've been working with the airlines behind the scenes, basically to find out what when they could spin the engines. They're ready to start, but of course we have to wait for the direction of the government, and that's where we stand today, because there's nothing we can do, or the airlines or tourism, where we can try to get a tourism package back to the U.S. until we have confirmed directions of Jamaican government.
Yeah, tourism is one of those things that links us inextricably. One of the other things is our citizens. We have a lot of Jamaicans from our diaspora in the U.S., and so reopening borders means a lot of travel between countries. Are you concerned about that as well, and just how much we will be able to keep the curve flattened between us when travel reopens between the countries?
Well, you have many Jamaicans in the U.S. that were stranded and so forth. We were working with JetBlue, and I have to say one thing, that everybody should applaud JetBlue, because they've been the lifeline to Jamaica on bringing people here and letting people go back home or back to the U.S. And dealing with Jamaica Blue and the U.S. ambassador to the U.S. Ambassador Marks, we have been working with JetBlue and also the other airlines to talk to them about their scheduling and so forth. The Jamaicans that are coming down is, in fact, as you probably are aware, that JetBlue was going to cease flights into Jamaica on the 6th of May. We kept that open, and they have committed to remaining open to keep flights coming in and out of Jamaica. We are concerned about that, but at the same time, airlines cannot become profitable at how they are flying now. The JetBlue comes down, they only bring 40 passengers at a time because it's every other seat. And so they cannot, there's got to be some kind of protocol put together where they can actually fill the seats. And I think that what they're has recommended that every seat, that when the seats are filled, that you must wear gloves and a mask and so forth. That I think is probably, and they will be tested. They're actually, the airlines cannot test because it's a responsibility. It's a liability responsibility for them. But at the same time, at the airport, there's no reason why the Jamaican government cannot test, at least for temperature. But keeping in mind that we had one case here where, in fact, it happened to be our young lady here at the embassy. She tested positive for a temperature, and then a day and a half later, 2 days later, her temperature went away. So keep in mind that you can actually not have a temperature and be carrying the coronavirus. So as far as the economy in the U.S., I think the President Trump is leaving that up to each state, because there's some areas where they've had 1 or 2 cases. There's some cases where in Arizona they had 700 and some cases, I believe, in one county. So the governor is taking steps there. I'm more familiar there since I am from Arizona, and keeping an eye on Arizona because my grandchildren and my children live there.
Wow. Wow, I hope that they're safe and that they'll continue to be safe, Ambassador. And we're saying Jamaica, but I wanted to point out that the U.S. is supporting Caribbean nations in general, and some of the people who will be profiting are the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, and Barbados through this contribution that the U.S. is making to COVID-19 response. I want to thank you for taking the time out to speak with us, sir. All the best to you. Please keep safe and healthy, and until we speak to you again.
Well, stay safe, wear your mask, wash your hands, and keep your distance. And I think by doing that, we will flatten the curve here in Jamaica very quickly.
Thank you. U.S. Ambassador to Jamaica, Donald Tapia. Stay with us, Smile Jammers. More and Smile after this quick break. We're coming right back.